Good evening, students. Our today's session is about selecting the right research problem or selection of the problem in a research process. So, first of all, what is research problem in educational research? So, a research problem is a specific issue, we can call it an issue, question, or gap in knowledge that a researcher seeks to address within the field or within his or her area. So it provides a focus for the study and guides the research design and methodology. So, characteristics of a research problem, like educational context, the problem should be situated within an educational setting, which could include our schools, classrooms, universities, and other learning environments. Like you may take up some problem which is related to private tuitions also. So it should be situated within an educational setting, which could include schools, universities, classrooms, or any other learning environment. The problem should be defined with precision to ensure it can be thoroughly investigated. Remember, it should be defined with precision to ensure that it can be investigated thoroughly, or it should avoid being too broad, means which is difficult to handle in future, where a researcher goes directionless how to complete it, how to wind up with my work. So it should be not too broad. It should not be too broad. It should be manageable, nor it should be too narrow. So, like instead of studying student achievement, a more specific problem might be impact of uh, summative assessment on middle school students' maths performance or science achievement rather than student achievement, which is a very broad broad term. So it should be specific, like impact of summative or formative assessment on middle school students science performance, maths performance, etc. And the another important thing is that problem should address concerns relevant to key stakeholders in education, such as students, teachers, administrators, policymakers, or even parents. So it should aim to solve practical issues or improve educational practices. Researchable. The problem should be feasible to research. What does it mean? It means there should be a clear method to carry out research work. Clarity, feasibility, clear method for gathering and analyzing data as well. So it should be possible to explore the problem within the constraints of time, resources, and expertise. The problem should be grounded in existing educational theories or frameworks. It should build on or challenge existing knowledge and contribute to the academic discourse in education. potential impact, like we were talking about in our previous session. Potential, it should have some potential to make some contribution. So it should have potential to make a meaningful contribution to the field of education. It should offer insights that could lead to improved teaching practices and teaching learning practices, enhanced learning outcomes, student achievement, informed educational practices, etc. Clarity and precision. The research problem should be articulated very clearly and precisely. Ambiguity or vagueness can hinder the research process and outcomes. So it should be clear, and no ambiguity or vagueness should hinder the research process and outcomes. So, identifying a clear and significant research problem is crucial for guiding the direction of the study and ensuring the research findings are valuable and actionable in the context of educational settings. Research problem, selection of the problem, defining the problem, and statement of the problem. So, process of research can be implemented as a series of actions or steps that are essential to be performed in a specific order. These actions or activities usually overlap each other rather than pursue a specific sequence. Like first step is selection of the topic, means select the topic. The first step for a researcher is to select the topic of research. While doing so, he should restrict it to the most potential topics that is often open for extensive research out of several alternatives. So the factors to be considered for topic selection should be, again, remember, listen very carefully. The factors to be considered for topic selection should be its relevance, whether it is relevant or not. Scope for research. The required data should be available and accessible, not only available. Availability. Accessibility is equally important. If it is available but not accessible for a researcher, then it is of no use. Contribution to knowledge in the specific field. Definitely, it should make some potential contribution. It should make some contribution. Otherwise, it will be of no use in future, not for researcher, not for any other person, or it will be of no use. Required cooperation from the research guide. Define the research problem. Research problems can be related to either the state of nature or the relationship of variables. In defining the research problem, the researcher should study the existing literature, including books and journals available in the field, with an interdisciplinary perspective to base research topic on some reliable background. Remember, to base his or her work on some reliable background, on some authentic background. So, a researcher should also concentrate on the relevance of the present research with the past works. It should be relevant to present context. Means you are working on some topic which was discussed about or which was relevant in 1920s. This time it will not be very helpful for researchers. So it should be relevant in the current times, in the present times. Like this time, it is a time of technology. So if you are working on some topic which was like Vedic period, Buddhist period, definitely it is helpful to some extent to know what practices were involved in those periods. But to know or to make some significant contribution, it is equally important to find out what is going to impact or what is going to make positive contribution for future researchers, for future researchers, but with past background. It should be related to previous works, past background. It should be based on some authentic knowledge, some reliable background. So you need to read a lot. You need to read extensively. Setting objectives. After selecting the topic and defining the research problem, the researcher should mention the objectives of research. What does it mean? Means they should explain what they aim to achieve through this research. His or her objective should include an explanation of the extent to which the research work is related to the specific field and what they intend to uh, research, what they intend to investigate. Next, survey existing literature. To understand the basis of research, it is important for the researcher to review existing literature. This involves surveying existing books available in that area, in that field, reviewing published materials like articles, journals, reports, and conference proceedings. Sample design. Often we select only a few items for universal study purposes. So, a sample design, the researcher must decide the manner of selecting a sample or decide about the sample design. A sample design is a definite plan determined for data collection to obtain a sample from a given population. Next, collection of data. There are a variety of ways to collect data. Like primary data can be collected through experiments or through surveys. If the researcher performs an experiment, he or she observes some quantitative measurements. This helps him or her to examine the truth in his hypothesis. Now execute the project. So this is the most important step in the research process. The researcher should ensure that the project is performed in a logical way and on time. So if a survey is to be carried out, a step needs to be taken to ensure that it is under statistical control so that the collected data is in accordance with the predetermined standard of accuracy. Analyze the data. After data collection, the researcher's next task is to analyze the data. The bulk data should be compressed into a few manageable groups and tables for further analysis. So the researcher can analyze the collected data by using various statistical methods. After that, generalize and interpret. The real value of research lies in its ability to arrive at certain generalizations. So, if the researcher cannot find a hypothesis to start with, he might seek to explain his findings on the basis of some theory. This is called interpretation. So, this may give rise to new questions and further lead to more research. Then, last step, you will prepare a report or thesis. This is the concluding step for any research, where the researcher prepares a report of what has been done by him. Generally, the report should be designed in accordance with the certain layout, like preliminary pages, main text, end matter, etc. Like preliminary pages, title, date, acknowledgements, and forward with the table of contents should be mentioned clearly. Main text, which is divided into introduction, summary, main report, and conclusion. So, main text, which should be divided into introduction, summary, and main report and conclusion. In our next session, we will discuss defining the research problem.